Hello and welcome to News Round, a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. The headlines: organized labor leads protest across the country, demands reversal of petrol price, increase of minimum wage from 30,000 to 200,000 naira, amongst others. The president defends decision to remove fuel subsidy, announces interventions to cushion effects of recent policies in nationwide broadcast. Senate concludes screening of first set of ministerial nominees, receives a list of 20 more. Plus, former U.S. president pleads not guilty to alleged conspiracy to overturn his 2020 election defeat. That's News Round in View. A news round begins with a massive nationwide demonstration of the organized labor condemning the recent hike in the price of petrol occasioned by the removal of fuel subsidy. Led by the Nigeria Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress, alongside their civil society allies, the unions trooped out to condemn what they say constitute harsh policies of government. Here is a report on how it went down in Abuja, the nation's capital.
The Unity Fountain in Abuja came alive with members of the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC), the Trade Union Congress (TUC), and their civil society allies who gathered to protest the recent hike in the pump price of petrol in the nation's capital. It's a carnival of sorts, with workers waving their flags in the air and displaying placards with messages articulating their demands. They file out of the Unity Fountain, singing solidarity songs as they go. Their first port of call is the Ministry of Justice, occupying the entrance for over 30 minutes. The protesters leave the Justice Ministry towards their main destination, which is the National Assembly. However, access into the National Assembly did not come easy. The protesters had to force their way through the gates, bringing it down. The protesting workers marched straight into the premises of the National Assembly and gather at the concourse.
They don't get shame. They don't get shame at all. Politicians, they don't get shame.
Here, the NLC president restates their demands.
We demand the immediate implementation in good faith of all resolutions with Congress jointly signed with the government and TUC. Immediate reversal of all anti-poor policies of government, including the recent hike in PMS price, school fees, and VAT.
The federal lawmakers here promised to give speedy consideration to the requests.
I am begging you to call off the strike and give us 1 week, and we will report progress. And if you are not satisfied with the progress we are making, then you can take further action. This should serve as a warning to the presidency, to the National Assembly, to everybody. Then if nothing very tangible comes out of our effort, then you can take action.
Just give us a chance to get involved, just a little chance, and we will make sure if things are not resolved in your favor, I am representing you. You can trust me.
Promises have been made, and the labor leaders seem to be giving the lawmakers the benefits of the doubts.
In organized labor, we don't run for meetings, like I said over there. Whenever you call us for meetings, we are there. But when we are in that meeting, we assess what you are telling us. When you are in that meeting, we look at everything. Those things, are you really serious about this, or is it just a jamboree? And we will also address Nigerians. So they have said 1 week, so we will go back now and we'll re-examine the situation and we'll communicate to Nigerians.
The demands of organized labor include the immediate reversal of the recent hike in the price of petrol, the implementation of resolutions with the federal government, immediate fixing of the refineries, payment of 8 months' salary arrears of university lecturers, amongst others. In the next 1 week, many of these workers will be watching keenly to see how their demands will be attended to, as promised by the federal lawmakers.
Meanwhile, in Lagos, the protesters marched through some of the major streets to the Lagos State House of Assembly, where they presented their claims, which includes the need for the government to probe funds spent on fixing the refineries. They were received by the State Deputy Governor, Femi Hamzat, who says the demands by the unions would be looked into. It's D-Day, and members of the Labour Congress and its affiliates are out on the streets of Lagos to drive home their demand for a better country. The messages are written on the various banners displayed. Let poor Nigerians breathe, fix their refineries, reduce the cost of governance, and save the masses from poverty and hunger, amongst others. To avoid hoodlums hijacking the peaceful protest, the police are on standby. One by one, the union leaders take turns to address the crowd, united in the struggle.
The message we are here to pass to the sitting and incumbent government of President Bola Tinubu is that Nigerian workers, the entire Nigerian masses, are suffering. It has even gone beyond suffering. Our people are dying on a daily basis.
How can few people, cabal, be cornering trillions and we cannot identify them?
We are only awaiting the result of the NLC because it's just a day action. And luta continua.
The procession continues after the brief stopover. Destination is the Lagos State House of Assembly, where they are to present their demands.
Suffocating, and we can no longer. We know that the state government is trying. This January, of NLC, TUC that are all here, hereby present the total of our demand on national and from the state.
The Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Femi Hamzat, who received them, takes time out to address the crowd.
We will meet very, very soon. We will read the letter and then you will hear from your leadership. I want to thank you because this is a peaceful protest. Like we said in a democracy, it is fundamental. So I want to thank you and may God bless you all.
With the protest done, some of the unionists expressed their reservations.
The Buharis regime in 8 years spent 11 trillion naira on importation of fuel. If you fix our refinery, we have no business importing fuel. In fact, we should be exporting petroleum products and be as rich as other oil-producing countries. So you cannot continue to punish the Nigerian people for the irresponsibility of the Nigerian ruling class. That's what is going on.
In our sector, there's no regulation. There's nothing called minimum wage. As I'm talking about, there is no palliative. There is no standardization. As I'm talking to you, we still have some of our members collecting as low as 10,000 naira.
Well, the protest has been done, and of course the demands have been made.
Now the unionists would wait to see if the government would accede to their request, because they say that is the only time they would drop this struggle. From Alausa in Lagos, Chris Alems, Channels Television News.
President Bola Tinubu has made it known that the nation has saved about ₦1 trillion since the announcement of the removal of fuel subsidy, and that part of the funds will be channeled to support development in the country. While appealing to Nigerians to show good faith at this difficult time, the president also reeled out some urgent intervention to moderate cost of living, including the ₦100 billion for agriculture and another ₦100 billion to provide buses for transportation.
Fellow citizens.
This is President Bola Tinubu's second nationwide broadcast after his inauguration on May the 29th. And it comes at a time when the nation is still grappling with the rise in the price of petrol as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy convoluted by high inflation, industrial action by resident doctors, and threat of strike action by organized labor. And the president wasted no time in making a case why subsidy must go and what is done so far.
To be blunt, Nigeria could never become the society it was intended to be as long as such small, powerful, yet unelected groups hold enormous influence over our political economy and the institutions that govern it. The whims of the few should never hold dominant sway over the hopes and aspirations of the many.
The gains of subsidy removal are already trickling in, according to President Bola Tinubu.
In a little over 2 months, we have saved over ₦1 trillion that would have been squandered on the unproductive fuel subsidy, which only benefited smugglers and fraudsters. That money will now be used more directly and more beneficially for you and your families. For example, we shall fulfill our promise to make education more affordable to all and provide loans to higher education students who may need them. No Nigerian student will have to abandon higher education because of lack of money.
While appealing to Nigerians to show understanding, the president explains how ₦200 billion of the ₦500 billion loan will be deployed to support transportation and agriculture across Nigeria.
We have made provision to invest $100 billion between now and March 2024 to acquire minimum of 3,000 units of 20-seater CNG fuel buses. These buses will be shared to major transportation companies in the state using the intensity of travel per capita. Participating transport companies will be able to access credit under the facility at a maximum per annum 9% interest rate with 60 months repayment period.
Part of measures to support manufacturing enterprises and MSMEs is a provision of single-digit loans by the federal government.
We are going to spend $75 billion between July 2023 and March 2024. Our objective is to fund minimum of 75 enterprises with great potential to kickstart a sustainable economic growth, accelerated structural transformation, and improved productivity. Each of these 75 manufacturing enterprises will be able to access $1 billion credit at maximum of 9% per annum, with maximum of 60 months repayment for long-term loans and 12 months for working capital.
The president has consistently maintained that the challenges of today is for a greater good in the future. Whether or not citizens agree with his position will be interpreted by their response as individuals and groups in the coming days. Jeffrey Uzongo, Channels Television News.
When Newsround returns, former U.S. president pleads not guilty to alleged conspiracy to overturn his 2020 election defeat. Stay with us. Welcome back, and now to other stories. The Senate has received a new batch of 20 ministerial nominees from President Bola Tinubu delivered by the President Chief of Staff, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila. Senate President Godswill Akpabio read the names of the supplementary list after the upper chamber concluded the screening of the first batch of 28 nominees.
You got bow and go.
We saw nominees take a bow and exit the stage. Some asked probing questions, and one nominee was overcome with emotions mid-presentation. All this in the last 3 days of the ministerial screening in the Senate.
Mr. Nominee, sir.
President Bola Tinubu's spokesman, Mr. Dele Alake, opens Wednesday's screening exercise. He's asked pointed questions on protecting the freedom of the press and regulating the social media.
The social media has two sides. There is a positive side, there is the negative side. The downside is so detrimental to good and decent society. So I will recommend a strengthening of our regulations and application of those regulations.
The minority leader also quizzes him about a remark he made during the presidential campaigns to the displeasure of the majority leader.
I read a statement where you label supporters of a particular presidential candidate as wild dogs. Buying blood on social media. Have you come across that statement? Are you aware of it?
The minority leader was raising questions that bordered on campaign. This had happened several months ago. And if we are here as senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria screening ministerial nominees,
party politics,
we are not supposed to bring in issues that had come and gone.
Next up is Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, who speaks passionately and exhaustively on the judiciary, the rule of law, as well as noted eyebrow-raising practices by some anti-corruption agencies.
If I have my way, I will advise the president to unbundle. First of all, bring ICPC and EFCC together, unbundle them. Investigation should not be handled by the same body. There must be a supervisory authority within the same system. If there is investigation, it is another body. Prosecution is another body. It doesn't augur well to ask the same authority to, do investigation, come and do prosecution. That is where we have problems.
Medical expert Dr. Ali Pate is also before the Senate, and the questions center on vaccine independence, wealth of medical workers, and resources for the health sector. Another nominee, Dr. Doris Uzoka, answered questions on the business and investment environment.
We need to look at the conditions of service, the circumstances, the compensation, and in a way, re-energize the sector around the mission, because no one joins the health sector who is not committed to serving his or her patients.
If we improve the land reform of each state, because the businesses are within the states, the economy of this country is within the states, and that's the responsibility of the state governors. There should be a deliberate attempt to improve land reform, and most especially automate the process of owning land, owning property, landed properties, and using it for businesses.
For the second time, the President's Chief of Staff arrives the Senate chamber with a second batch of nominees. The list contains 19 names. Prominent on the list are 5 former governors: Adeboyega Oyetola, Atiku Bagudu, Bello Matawale, Ibrahim Gaidam, and Simon Lalong. Some former lawmakers also made the cut, namely Senators Aliyu Abdullahi, Heineken Lukubiri, as well as Representatives Zephaniah Jisalo and Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu. The new nominees are expected to proceed for documentation immediately, while the screening will resume on Friday, August 4th, 2023. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
To party politics, former Kano State Governor Mr. Abdullahi Ganduje is the new national chairman of the All Progressives Congress. The party has also chosen former Senate spokesperson Mr. Ajibola Bashiru from Osun State as its national secretary. The party ratified the appointment during its 12th National Executive Committee meeting in Abuja.
Working committee of a party.
The hall is filled with leaders of the All Progressives Congress, governors, members of the National Working Committee of the party, as well as National Assembly members.
Headquarters of the party.
This is the first National Executive Committee meeting of the party since President Bola Tinubu assumed office, and he uses the opportunity of the opening speech to deliver his verdicts on the 2023 presidential election.
The party is in your hand. But let's redirect this party. Let's show the rest of the country that we are a party united for a purpose, and that purpose, development, progress, and prosperity, will not forgive us if we fear of that path. We honor their wishes, but we coasted to victory. It is an honorable thing. Yes, we are facing challenges in court, and I say this is one of the most free and fair elections in the history of Nigeria.
The meeting then proceeds into a closed-door session to ratify the appointments for the seat of the national chairman and the national secretary.
For the unanimous support by the members on the appointment on the election of His Excellency Abdullahi Umar Ganduje as the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress ATC, and Senator Basiru Ajibola as the National Secretary of the All Progressives Congress ATC.
Following the election, the appointees are sworn in.
I will devote myself to the service and well-being of the members of the party and the people of Nigeria. So help me God.
In his acceptance speech, Mr. Ganduje vows to enthrone internal democracy within the party.
Some important reforms will be carried out in the party, aligning with the current political landscape. This will include 1. Using the current technology, membership, registration into our party. Whereby the current figure we have for the registration is over 41 million. But the result of the last election was able to score 8%.
Some members of the party have some words of advice for the new national chairman.
Well, for being one of the former executive of party, I've enjoyed party administration before and I've suffered party administration before. My advice to them would be they should be calm, patient, and do justice and be fair to all. Political party administration is about giving everybody a sense of belonging and carrying people along.
Following the election of former Kano Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje as the new national chairman of the All Progressives Congress at this 12th NEC meeting, the chairman says his first responsibility is ensuring that the party wins all governorship elections upcoming in the next few months. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
A small aircraft said to be on a test flight suddenly crashed and burst into flames in the Oba Akran area of Lagos State on Tuesday afternoon. 2 people on board the Jabiru J430 light airplane with registration number 5NCCQ were rescued following the crash, which occurred at about 3:30 p.m. and were rushed to a military hospital. Other emergency responders from the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency as well as the Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau, as well as the National Emergency Management Agency, mobilized to the scene. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu was also on hand to see things for himself.
I think it was a single engine helicopter that had 2 passengers on board. The 2 passengers on board have been rescued safely. They are currently at an hospital and they are receiving treatment as we speak. We do not know the cause of the helicopter crash. That will be done by experts. That will be done by AIB, which are the investigative bureau. But we're thankful that we got a very quick response, both from the Lagos State Emergency Service, LASEMA, and all you residents of this neighborhood. Especially, I'm told, 2 very gallant citizens, Oluwafemi and what's your own name? Okpeyemi and Oluwafemi. Whilst everybody were running away, Okpeyemi and Oluwafemi were the very first that I'm told had to look for water from the running water and the gutter, and they were able to also help to rescue the 2 passengers that were inside the helicopter. But of course, subsequently, you could see that the crash site have been secured. All of the wreckage have been evacuated and they're in a truck right now.
And finally, on News Round, former U.S. President Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to charges that he orchestrated a plot to try to overturn his 2020 election loss in what U.S. prosecutors call an unprecedented effort by the then president to undermine the pillars of American democracy. Special counsel Jack Smith, who has overseen the federal investigation, looked on from the courtroom's front row as Trump entered his plea before U.S. Magistrate Judge Moxila Upadhyaya. The arraignment, lasting about half an hour, took place in a Washington courthouse half a mile from the U.S. Capitol, the building Trump supporters stormed on January 6, 2021, to try to stop Congress from certifying his defeat. That's it on News Round. Thank you for joining us. Do join us again next week.